Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip and Shannon, let's debate.
I promised you something a couple of weeks ago.
This is called diversion.
No.
Thank you, Shannon.
I want you to show everybody what you got.
Do they have spikes on the bottom? No, they got perforated bottoms.
Yes.
Wow.
These are Nike Air Jordan 1, the original Jordan
Yes.
golf shoes. Right?
Those are fancy.
Because his
Skip.
golf
like
game
it.
is
You know
his
what?
golf game is trash. But his sneak game,
That is not what I heard.
it's gonna be awesome. But Skip, let me tell you what I had to do to get those shoes for you.
I had to take trash.
To get the
After I
shoes?
gave you- yeah, I had to take trash.
I knew a man that was sitting next to a man on a flight from New York to LA.
Yep.
Whose wife,
took.
brother-in-law, sister's boyfriend had a homeboy that worked at Nike.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you,
She
Shannon.
would like you to know he went through a lot of work to get those shoes.
Thank you. I appreciate
Those
that.
are very
Bruh,
nice.
For you,
You got
man.
it.
Hey, you
All
know I ride with you and I ride for you.
Now, back to reality.
Okay. I just see.
We're going to keep these here?
Yeah,
That's
so you
all I
get
get.
those there.
Hold on.
Well, you know what? We'll move down here because I know you're going to get a little crazy in a few
I'm
minutes.
about to get a lot crazy.
Yeah, okay, a lot
That's
to
all I
say
get.
today.
So I just get a 1-minute reprieve.
Yeah.
You get a 1-minute reprieve because now back to our moderator, whose
Yes.
team last night went into Cleveland, Ohio, able to dress only 9 players. Only 9 players. And I don't know how this happened, Shannon Sharpe, but the Miami Heat of Miss Joy Taylor won in Cleveland, beat the Kings team in the Kings house. How did that happen?
Joy, you need to stay off Twitter too. All that's unnecessary.
Can I live? Can I just have
No.
a moment? Can I have a moment? Let's get it started with the Cavs. Last night, the Cavs lost to the Heat for the second time in 3 days. Dion Waiters had 29 points for Miami, including a long three-pointer off the glass with 12 seconds left to seal the win. Andrew Bogut made his Cavs debut, but he fractured his left tibia after playing less than a minute in the second quarter. After the game, LeBron talked about losing Bogut. Let's take a listen.
I heard it break. As soon as the collision happened, I heard it break. And when I went over to him and he said it, I already knew. I heard it. I heard it crack. But it took the air out of the whole building. I mean, and you just heard it from the fans when he went down. And we was hoping for the best. We was hoping that it was just a knee or maybe a knee to the quad obviously I heard it, so I kind of knew what it was already. It's very deflating, and it's a tough moment. We're excited, about the acquisition and bringing him here, and him getting some games under his belt, before the playoffs. So, hopefully we can hope for the best, when he gets the MRI or whatever the case may be. But it's a tough one, not only obviously for him first of all, and then for our ball club.
Shannon, what did last night mean for your Cavs?
Didn't mean anything. I mean, it changed nothing. I still believe they'll be the number 1 seed in the East. Boston lost later in the night to the Clippers, and so they lost no ground. But it changed the mood of the team. It's funny how a guy that, you had so much hope and aspirations for when you go out and sign him, because you needed another big body. And LeBron had said this, a couple of months earlier, we need a playmaker. We don't need a Steph Curry or James Harden type point guard, but we need somebody that can come off the bench. If Kyrie and myself are out of the ball game, they can initiate the offense. And so they got a Darren Williams. Now they got a Bogut, another big body to bang with Tristan Thompson. If Tristan gets in foul trouble, Bogut could come in. Great screen setter, can rebound, can protect the rim a little bit. And then when that happened, you can see it's like a guy that had been on the court 60 seconds, gone in 60 seconds. The whole building just like, not us. But that's not the reason they lost, Skip. Normally what happens when a player faces his former team, he plays really well. And that's what we saw with Dion Waiters. He had 24 points in the first half. Everything he put up was going in. 10 of 12, 4 for 4 in the first half from three-point line. So they were playing well. The Cavaliers need to defend better. They've been terrible the last couple of games, and it's shown. They had a 25-point lead late in the third quarter against Atlanta. Atlanta comes all the way back. With 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they were down by 1. And then we see them without LeBron and Kyrie on Saturday night get blown out by this Heat team. and the Heat team came in here. And they're fighting for something. They're trying to, right now, I think they're a game and a half out of the eighth slot. So they're playing really well. Dion Waiters got hot from three. Wayne Ellington got hot from three. Dragic was dropping threes. Magruder, everybody was dropping threes. I think there were 16 of 35 for the ball game, and they're one of the poorest shooting three-point teams in the game. But this changes a lot because now they back to where they were in the beginning, really only having one true big in Tristan Thompson. Kevin Love's going to come back probably about 5 weeks. I say maybe the last week of the regular season, Kevin Love will be back into the lineup. But they didn't play well last night, Skip. Kyle Korver was 0 from 3. Channing Frye didn't shoot the ball well. No one really played well outside of LeBron and Kyrie. Give credit to the Heat. They won, but this changed nothing in my eyes in the East.
Way to go, Joy Taylor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I tried to warn you about Andrew Bogut, who has turned into the Tony Romo of the NBA. You want to talk about brittle? You want to talk about both knees are bothering him and have bothered him for quite some time, and he badly pulled a hamstring, probably tore it back in January. He missed 30 games this year for the Mavericks. And not to mention that if we go back to Game 5, the turnaround game of last year's finals, he barely played in that game before one of the knees went. And he missed Game 6 and he missed Game 7 as the Kings team roared back from 3-1 down to win that series. So my point is, could you really trust that Andrew Bogut was going to last that long? Because that collision was a fairly routine collision as NBA collisions go, and his tibia just snapped. So from the waist down, he's had one thing after another go wrong. So that was Romo-esque what happened to him last night, a minute into his first stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And yet, I must once again mention that the King after the game was, as he used the word, we are deflated. And I'm thinking, well, it was too bad that this happened to a guy who was in his first day with your team. Right. But really, your basketball team's deflated over that?
Well, Skip, they had, because this is what they needed. They said they needed another big.
Okay.
And now they're back to where they were originally with really only one big until Kevin Love gets
so
back.
They go out and they sign Verjao or Larry Sanders, who they already worked
I like
out,
Larry Sanders better.
Or maybe Jared Sullinger, whoever they want. They can pick somebody who's going to play 12 minutes a night for Tristan Thompson, because I remind you, even Mozgov is the backup center last year in the finals.
Yeah.
Do you remember in Game 5, he played 2 minutes, Game 6, 0 minutes, Game 7, 0 minutes. So they didn't even need a backup center as they roared back from 3-1 down, right? So to me, it's like LeBron, why wouldn't you just lift your team up and say, onward and upward, we're getting Kevin Love back, we're about to get J.R. Smith back, and yet it's, oh, woe are we. And I don't know what LeBron wants. Seriously, I think he wants to just declare the playoffs over and let's just go ahead and have a ring ceremony tomorrow night and just award him his 4th ring, because he doesn't seem to want to go compete. Why didn't he just say, you know what, we're going to be just fine, even though we're going to miss him, we're going to be just fine without him? Because Cleveland.com was doing a poll all day yesterday, and Cavs fans were voting for this current bench versus the 4 starters that LeBron had to play with in the 2007 finals against my San Antonio Spurs.
Not even close.
And it's, this bench is better, and it's even better still now without Andrew Bogut. I don't know exactly what more the King needs to go compete.
First of all, Skip, stop talking about he doesn't want to compete, because here's a man that was down 3-1 in the finals, and he roared back. So clearly he likes to compete, and he can compete.
Okay, but there was no Draymond, and then there was no Bogut. So I don't know. You got 2 huge breaks. What more do you want?
But here's the thing, though, Skip. Bogut maybe wasn't necessarily meant for the finals. There's 3 rounds that you got to win to get to the finals. What happens if Tristan gets nicked and he has to miss some time? What happens if Tristan gets in foul trouble? So for me, look, yeah, he is. He's like that M. Night Shyamalan's character in Unbreakable. Mr. Glass, Samuel L. Jackson, can't walk, can't do anything. He's in a wheelchair, has a cane because something's going to go wrong. And that's where Andrew Bogut is right now, Skip. You know they outlawed the leg whip in football for this very reason, because you can break someone's leg doing it. And that's what happens. I mean, he went flying in his leg, and it kind of went bone on bone. Is he fragile? Yes, he's fragile. There's no way around that. But I don't think the Cavaliers or anyone thought that 58 seconds into his debut, this would happen. But I'm not worried. You don't worry. You You have little old Kawhi. Y'all do. I know you got your pom-poms out. You probably had Ernestine on the cheerleading outfit. She pom-pom and cheering for Kawhi.
No, Hazel. She was barking. She loves Kawhi.
But you know what? Yeah. You handle what y'all need to handle on the West. Mm-hmm. King and got this in the East.
See, Kawhi is the one who should be complaining about he doesn't have enough help because it's just Kawhi or bust. But no, you don't hear a word from the silent assassin.
First of all, I don't even know if he can talk.
Yeah, that's
is that proven? Can he actually speak?
That's not his style. He speaks with his game.
Yes, thank you.
Whatever, Joy Taylor.
Yeah,
let's talk about it. I don't know if you saw last night. Next up, the Spurs beat the Rockets by 2 in a thriller last night. Kawhi Leonard had 39 points, including a go-ahead three-pointer with 25 seconds left. Then just seconds later, Kawhi blocked James Harden's layup attempt to seal the win for the Spurs. After the game, Greg Popovich and Kawhi talked about the huge defensive play. Let's take a listen.
I seen him get a easy lane to the basket, and I just tried to chase him down and time the layup. But David Lee did a good job, not letting him really get athletic and just keeping a body and just jumping straight up. So it helped me get the block.
The block is what makes him special. Obviously the three, Harden makes threes, Kawhi makes threes, this guy makes threes, that guy makes threes, Steph makes threes, everybody does that. But I don't know who goes to the other end and does what he does. Not that many people on a consistent basis, an entire game and game after game. Kawhi wanted it badly, and he went and took it.
Did he ever?
Well, Skip, you said something on the show yesterday in your Facebook Live hit, but I'm going to let you say it. I think I know where you're going to go. What did Kawhi prove last night?
Once again, he proved, as I tried to tell you yesterday, he is now a more dominant player consistently and routinely than LeBron James can imagine being at age 32 versus Kawhi's age 25. He proved last night, head-to-head with James Harden, that he could outplay James Harden, especially in the fourth quarter, when he outscored James Harden, the leading candidate for MVP, 17-4, and he kept pushing Danny Green away, saying he insisted on taking James Harden head-to-head all the way down the stretch in the fourth quarter. So now, who got cooked?
Kawhi.
Kawhi got cooked by James Harden?
Yeah, 39.
He scored.
He's the
he
best.
didn't guard James Harden. You just didn't listen to what I just came out of my mouth and said. He took James Harden. He pushed Danny Green away. Danny Green got cooked a lot last night because James Harden scored 18 in the first quarter as the Houston Rockets threatened to run my Spurs off their home floor. It was 39-22 after a quarter. But in the fourth quarter, he scored 4 points because Kawhi was guarding him. The guy who got cooked was James Harden in the fourth quarter. So now Kawhi Leonard, the best closer in basketball by far, has edged up in the MVP race past LeBron James, past James Harden, and he is starting to close the gap on Russell Westbrook. I now have Kawhi Leonard number 2 in the MVP race, and because you don't watch the San Antonio Spurs, as you publicly admitted yesterday, because they're too boring. Well, you told me you don't watch them, so I have to clue you in on what's been going on.
Does this count as watching?
Yeah, that does not count as watching. So just so you get this, if we go back to 2001, that's when it started, the Big Three. The San Antonio dynasty featured Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. Tim Duncan is now retired, Manu is 39, and Tony Parker, I must admit, is on his last legs, which is why now the San Antonio Spurs feature only a big one. It is Kawhi or bust. And I must admit, having watched the last 4 games very closely, I don't think this team could make the playoffs without Kawhi Leonard closing deal after deal in the fourth quarter. But even with just Kawhi Leonard, all of a sudden, they've won 8 in a row. They've won 13 of 15. They're only 2 back in the loss column of the Golden State Warriors. It's all because of Kawhi. Last year was a mistake because the big free agent signing was LaMarcus Aldridge. Last year, they tried to make LaMarcus the man. It's your team now, LaMarcus. And I couldn't watch him last year. I did watch him, but I watched him with one eye closed because it was some ugly basketball. And when they finally ran into a good team in the Oklahoma City Thunder, LaMarcus started off big and then came up real small down the stretch in games 3, 4, 5, 6. That was it.
He put that 40 spot on him in game 1.
Game 1, and that was the end of him because he is not that guy. He does not have that it factor. And if you have LaMarcus on the free throw line late in games, you better close both eyes because 1 or 2 of those free throws will not go through the hoop.
He made them yesterday, though.
Okay, but Kawhi made 7 out of 7 in the fourth quarter. He's deadly from the free throw line. So last night, Houston is running 2 guys at him every play, and he's splitting double teams, and he's doing this, and he's dishing here, and he's dunking, and he on the three-pointer of the game, he moves to his left, going the wrong way, and pulls up and drains the three. And then I'm not even going to give him credit for the chase down block because you know what? It was just like LeBron's chase down in the finals. It was the same thing. He got a big assist from David Lee, who got in the way of James Harden and held him up for a split second, and so that Kawhi could chase down and snatch.
Skip.
Okay?
Instead of you know what you did, Skip? Instead of you giving Kawhi credit.
I'm not going to give him credit.
No, this is my point. Instead of you saying that was a great block by Kawhi, then it would undo everything you said about LeBron's block in Game 7. So that's why
LeBron got a big assist from JR, right?
He's just being objective, that's all.
I didn't even like the chase down. It was a big emotional lift for the team, but the three-pointer was the shot of the game. It was the clutch shot that had Ginobili going like this over on the bench. Because it was unbelievable. And what he keeps doing every fourth quarter for game after game after game over the last 2 months, what has happened is the coaching staff finally got through to Kawhi Leonard and said, you know what? You're way better than you think you are. He's always stayed in his shell. He has come out of his shell. He has no national TV commercials or endorsements. I thought Jordan Brand was going to come out with the Kawhi Leonard collection a couple of years ago.
Really?
A year ago. I thought so. It looked like they were coming. They put it up on the internet, and I don't know what happened. It never came to pass. The claw. Yeah, okay, you got it. But I'll tell you what, the silent assassin is very quietly but loudly making a strong case for MVP.
Okay, Skip, this proved absolutely nothing to me. I've said it all along. He is a top 5 player. He's probably the most dominant two-way player in the NBA. So this proved nothing last night. It just goes to show you what he could have been had he been willing to take that next step. He did not want to step on Tim Duncan's toes because he saw Tim there. He sees Manu, he sees Tony, and he's like, these are an institution in San Antonio.
And last year he saw LaMarcus.
Right, and he's like, who am I? Especially, Tim Duncan is a three-time MVP. He's won the Finals MVP. So he's like, I can't, Pop, I get it, but I can't usurp him. I can't take shots away from him. But now that Tim Duncan is retired and he's been removed from the equation, you see Kawhi starting to assert himself. He's turned himself into a very good three-point shooter. He's on the free throw line to where he started his career and to where he is now is unbelievable.
90%.
He has a nice post-up game. I saw him throwing hooks over his left and his right shoulder with opposite hands. So I was very impressed with what he did last night. And in the last 8.5 minutes when he checked into the ball game, and it looks like because James Harden had just walked into a three, Eric Gordon had hit a three, and you're like, okay, Houston's finna make some real noise.
I agree.
If they can go into San Antonio and beat this team who's been the hottest in the West over the last month, this is going to send a resounding message all through the West. And Kawhi said, nope.
Sorry.
I'm not going to let it happen. But, Skip, you keep mentioning this stat called clutch, and you keep saying LeBron is not clutch and Kawhi is not clutch. So this is what I did.
He is clutch, yes.
This is what I did. I had to do this for my own. I didn't want my Ghost Riders. I didn't want nobody. This is me.
No, this is from the Ghost
No,
Riders.
this is me. This is all me.
What's his name? You have a pinch hitter today,
No.
right?
5 minutes left in the fourth quarter of overtime with the game within 6 points. This season, this is what the NBA has deemed as clutch. LeBron James is shooting 57.6%, which is best in the National Basketball League. Kawhi Leonard is shooting 42%, which is 22nd. LeBron James is shooting 59.3% from the three-point line. Kawhi Leonard is shooting 30. That's ranked on 37 players that's taken at least 50 shots in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter of overtime.
You're going too deep. You need to go to the last seconds. You need to do last-second shots. Who leads the NBA over the last 2 years in walk-off shots?
Well, you know what it is?
Kawhi Leonard.
First of all, hold see, I'm trying to finish, and every time I run the 100 meters, you say, well, Shannon, you need to run a half mile. You keep moving the finish line. You said clutch. Now it's the final seconds. Pretty soon you're going to say, okay, the stadium was empty. Who made the most shots when the stadium was empty? That's what you're going to do. Stop changing the narrative. You said clutch. LeBron is more clutch, based on this, than any other player in the NBA.
Do you see what LeBron did last night? They had a chance to really make that a game, and he comes down. Do you remember? Can we see this? I don't know if we have it or not, but here's LeBron with a chance to make this a game, and all of a sudden he just pulls up from three like, what? What are you doing? That's a bomb. And, of course, it LeBricks. Well, what are you going to do? That's the game right there. If that ball goes in, I say Cavs can hold on their home floor. That would have cut it to 2 points.
That was about as far back as Deion Waiters was.
I love what you did with it, but you know what LeBron did? LeBron scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. He assisted. He scored and assisted more points in the fourth than the Heat actually scored in the fourth. But, hey, Darren Williams missed another wide open three. Tristan Thompson missed a dunk that could have been a possible three-point play. Skip, look, one thing I don't do, I don't make excuses. The Heat won.
No.
They won the ball game. They shot exceptionally well.
Yep.
But if it's a 1-8 matchup, they'll get swept. You know that, Joey Taylor.
I don't know that.
We'll put money on it. Bet something on it.
I don't know that.
Bet something on it.
Maybe if that happens, then we'll do that.
No, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to have you doing the whole show in a chicken outfit.
We started this segment so nice. You gave Skip his shoes.
No, I tried to be nice.
You know?
I thought I could get a reprieve for more than 30 seconds.
Absolutely not.
He took my shoes like,
You
these
had
are
to eat
nice.
the Heat crow and the Kawhi Leonard crow this morning. Absolutely. You saw both of them, though.
What?
Well, it's cold-blooded. Deion Waiters and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Ice in their veins.
Deion's was a little lucky, just a little lucky.
A lot of
I
lucky.
think he called glass. I'll take it. No mercy. The war of words continues between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Mayweather called out McGregor while still keeping the door open for a potential fight. Let's take a listen.
This guy says that I'm scared, I'm a chicken. I said, well, all 49 said the same thing, and all the results was the same. If Conor McGregor really wanted to fight, we can make it happen. But the thing is this, is he blowing smoke up everybody's ass? That's what we need to know, is he blowing smoke?
Mayweather added, the difference between me and him is this. He has to fight. If I was him and I was smart before I lose again in the UFC, I'd let Floyd Mayweather kick my bleep for a lot of money. It makes business sense.
Got it.
Shannon, do you agree that Conor should take this fight?
Yeah. Go on and take this butt cutting, Conor. Get you $100 million out of the deal. You can tell Dana White, say, moving forward, I do not take any fights. I do not answer any phone calls that doesn't have $15 million. Now, once you get to $15 million, I'm going to listen to the voicemail. When you tell me I can get a back-end part of the pay-per-view buys, I'm going to pick the phone up and have my businessman call you back. Skip, look, let's be real. We know the reason why this fight, because Conor has looked so good in his last two fights. He's been phenomenal. Now, some of that shine, a lot of that shine, almost 90% of that shine, if he were to fight again and lose, a lot of that shine will be gone. The people won't be clamoring for this fight like they are now. So go ahead and let's have a $5 million buy, pay-per-view buy. Let Floyd go ahead and make his $400 million. Conor, you get your $125. But see, the difference between Floyd and Conor, Floyd is his own businessman. He doesn't have to negotiate with a company to fight. The UFC basically, and I don't want to take this the wrong way, but they basically do. They own Conor McGregor. If anything, as far as combating, he has to get clearance from them. This is not Muhammad Ali. Skip, you remember when Muhammad Ali and Gorilla Monsoon fought in that exhibition? That was staged. But this, you have two apex fighters in their prospective sports. They're going to fight for real. Now, glove size, all that can be negotiated. But for Conor, he has to get this from Dana White. Dana says, look, Conor, we made you somebody. We put you out there and put money in your pockets when you were no one. So we need to get a piece of this. Floyd's going to want it on Showtime pay-per-view. I'm sure UFC is going to want it on their pay-per-view station. So how do we get there? And Conor can't do anything. Conor can do all this yapping all he wants to. But right now, all he's doing is bumping his gums because unless Dana White gives him his blessing, this fight is not going to happen. And if Dana White can't line his pocket with at least $25, $50 million, it's not going to happen.
I think all the yapping, all the bumping of gums is being done by one Floyd may or may not Weather Jr. And what's highly amusing to me right now is that Floyd is so self-absorbed, so egomaniacal because he is so wealthy, more power to him, that he has convinced himself that he is the draw here when he is no longer the draw here. I'm going to remind Floyd, if he's watching, is he over in Great Britain now? I don't know what they're doing. Touring, speaking?
He chilling, chilling.
He's chilling
got that
everywhere.
Himalayan bag that Joy hating on.
Yeah. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is starting to look more and more to me like Floyd Sr. because he has turned 40 years of age. And I hate to bring this up, but his last real fight was Marcos Maidana, and that was September of 2014. That's 2.5 years ago. I'm talking about a real fight because Pacquiao tore his rotator cuff 3 weeks before that fight, or Floyd would have been in big trouble in that fight, more trouble than he was in.
He tore his rotator cuff, and Floyd tore his you-know-what.
Yeah. Because he's a one-armed fighter. And he hung in the fight. I still thought he won on points because Floyd just ran and hid and ran and hid and ran and hid the whole fight. But whatever. Then he comes back and fights Berto, and it was just an embarrassment to the sport of boxing. It was kind of a death knell for the sport of boxing. And that's it. And that was a year and a half ago, so it's really 2.5 years since he's fought.
Yeah.
And Floyd is bordering on becoming a has-been and a once was. And he's talking like he's the big draw when globally the far bigger draw is Conor McGregor, the baddest man on the planet.
But do $4 million buys and prove it.
All right. Well, Floyd is lucky that Conor would even consider fighting him. And Floyd is a smart enough businessman, very shrewd operator as a businessman, that he knows that there's going to be an issue with Conor breaking away from UFC through Dana, as you just brought up. And remember, UFC is still pretty young, so it started up, it sort of gave Conor the stage on which to become the baddest man on the planet.
But if he
doesn't have much bargaining power. Right. Nobody does in UFC at this point.
And that's the thing, but here's the thing though, Skip. Yeah, the UFC gave him that platform, but there's a lot of guys they've given platforms, but they couldn't fight, and they just get washed away. Conor McGregor, he got the platform, but what did he do? He rose. You opened the door for him, but he walked in. You didn't carry him in.
All right, but to your point about he better fight Floyd before he loses in UFC, what I love about UFC from the start, the best have to fight the best. You can't fight tomato cans. You can't run from this opponent or that opponent or wait until they're too old to really stand up against you in the ring. So it just head-to-head, 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 at your best, at your best, at your best.
Right.
And people are going to lose because it's hard. In obviously MMA or UFC fighting, you can't run and hide, man. You're going to get rocked.
Yes.
If you don't stand and fight. If you're not the superior fighter, you can't just run from it.
And Conor knows that. And Conor says, why am I going to potentially lose for $3 million when I can lose and make $100 million? If it makes dollars, it makes sense. So Conor's saying, hold on, we can do, if Pacquiao Mayweather did 4.4 million buys, we can do at least 5 million buys. Okay, at $100 a buy, that's $500 million, plus the live gate, plus other sponsorship. Skip, you're potentially looking at a $600 million fight.
Okay.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Floyd Mayweather takes $350.
Okay.
Conor gets another $100 to $150. Let the UFC have $100 million.
Okay, answer me this.
Yes.
Is $350 more million worth 49-1 to Floyd Mayweather? Losing to some MMA fighter? Is it worth it to risk that?
Skip, for him to put that on the line, you know he has the utmost confidence. Because he knows, Skip, if Conor McGregor fights at any point in time this year, this fight between Mayweather and McGregor is not going to happen. So now you're going to push it off another year. So that'll be almost 2.5 years that Floyd would have been inactive, and it'll be his 41st. 40.
It'd be over 3.
Right.
Well, since inactive.
Right.
I got you.
So now it'll be 2.5 years. Now he'll be 41. So Floyd is like, let's do this sooner than later while you still got that shine. Mm-hmm. I can go ahead and bust you up, pocket this $400 million. There's more bags that's coming out. Skip, they got another bag that's coming out. They're only going to make one. You see that watch he had on? That's a 101, a Hublot. They made one of them, and he got it. He got a bunch of stuff.
More power to him. Love it. Way to go, Floyd.
Oh, he got that, what you call it?
This is about 49-1. This is about one big blemish on your record, which is why, did you hear what Floyd said in the same interview that we just saw a clip of? He said his demands are out of line because he's never made this much money. And I told you what was going to happen from the start. Floyd will continue to make excuses. His demands are unreasonable. He doesn't deserve that much money. Yeah, he does, Floyd.
No,
he deserves just as much as you do.
He deserves that if they fight in UFC. If you're fighting in the UFC, Conor McGregor should be the highest paid fighter in the UFC.
So
he should get a standing fee of $10 million.
Okay, who's the more popular fighter globally right now, Conor or Floyd?
In boxing, it's Floyd.
Okay, but just make it fighter, period.
Well, I tell you what, when he does a buy at $2 million, when he does another one at $2 million, if he can beat Floyd and De La Hoya at 2.3, or Floyd and Alvarez at 2.6, or this one at Manny Pacquiao and Floyd at 4.4. When he does that, call me, I'm going to say he's more popular. But until then, because last I checked, they got TVs around the world, and you could also buy pay-per-view when he fights. And none of them's been over 2 million. And Floyd has had a bunch of them over 2 million buys.
Yep. All I know is if this fight ever happens and I take Ernestine to it, I will not make her sit in the splatter zone because somebody's going to get splattered. Some blood is going to fly. And I don't think it's Conor's because Floyd is like a pillowcase fighter now. You know, it's like
I don't want you, first of all, I don't want you. Ernestine has never seen you cry. And when Floyd is lumping him up, you're going to be, Ernestine, she's going to like, Skip, what's wrong? But he's losing.
No, she's just going to be wiping the blood off her face saying, why did you make me sit here?
This is such a
Connor,
great scene we're setting up.
Connor, go ahead and let Floyd kick your bleep for this $100 million. Then you can tell that this is going to be a great power move because then you can tell Dana White your $3 million days of fighting in the UFC are over.
I mean, it seems like from everything that you're saying, this is on Floyd. He's the most powerful. He's the one that sets all the money up. He's his own businessman. Yeah. So he can make it happen.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Skip, first of all, Floyd is going to want the fight on Showtime pay-per-view. Dana White's going to want it on his whoever do they pay-per-view. So we already got a conflict right there. Then we got to agree on the size of the gloves. Hey, 147 below, you fight with 8-ounce glove. So we can do
It's all really simple if you really want to make it happen.
No mercy.
The Boston Herald is reporting Adrian Peterson would consider playing for less money to join the Patriots. Peterson only played 3 games last season after tearing his meniscus. The Vikings declined to pick up the option on Peterson's contract last week, so AP will become an unrestricted free agent when the new league year starts on Thursday. We're joined by Chris Carter. Welcome, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning. Would AP be a good fit in New England?
Well, we can go through basically the whole NFL.
Right.
I mean, is it a legitimate question? Like, who isn't a good fit in New England? I mean, there's only a few players, even the ones who are rebels, the ones who don't do what the coaches say, the ones who aren't disciplined. Once they get to New England, they surrender all that. So, really, we're talking about a pool of players that's great. Is Adrian Peterson in that pool of players? This is the kind of irony to it. It's amazing, what people would do. Minnesota would like him to take a pay cut and would stay there.
Yep.
And if I was Adrian, that's what I would be considering doing. The reason why is because I've been in Adrian's position before. I know what the fan base is. Those fans there and the people of Minnesota, you will see next year in Super Bowl 52 how much they love their Vikings, how much they love their players, and how much they care about the game. And I've been retired from the Vikings since 2002. And the overall treatment of the players, to me, it's not worth going to New England for. Because if he goes to New England, who are they going to give credit to? We saw Chris Long, veteran player. He had no playoffs. Adrian has been in the playoffs. This franchise has been built around him. There's 6 numbers retired for the Vikings. I happen to be fortunate to be one of those numbers. So that means for as long as they're playing football, no one will ever wear that number again. Adrian has a chance with the Will family, try to work out a deal with Rick Spielman, who's a general manager. Take less. Brady took less money years ago. It's amazing how far Brady is ahead of the curve. Now everybody now he has people taking less money to come join him. Is he the answer to them? They won without Gronk.
Kind of like LeBron. People take less money to go to Cleveland.
Well, it's kind of the same.
LeBron doesn't take less, though.
No. He don't.
Yeah.
But Brady, he has situated himself where he can go and can continue within his prime and go on the greatest run that we've seen. Can Adrian fit in with the Patriots? Of course he could. Right. But it doesn't fit their offense. No. They don't want to run the tailback 20, 25 times. And Adrian don't want to practice. Adrian hadn't practiced much the last 3 years.
What last time he played in the preseason, CC?
No, it's been a long, long time. It's against his religion. So How do you play for the Patriots? How do you fit into the Patriots? It's amazing all these compromises guys will do. Why don't they make those compromises for their team? And for me, I know the legacy of Adrian Peterson in Minnesota. And let's not forget a couple years ago where we were. And the Minnesota Vikings stuck with Adrian Peterson and his family through everything he went through. So let's not forget that. I wouldn't toss that away. I remember Dan Marino. Dan called me at the end of his career. He was thinking about playing another year. Hey, Chris, man, I'm thinking about coming to Minnesota. I like the offense, like the offensive line. I said, yeah, Dan, okay, that's cool. We might not win, though, Dan. And when we don't win, you know what's going to happen, Dan? You're going to go back to Miami, sign a contract with them for one day, and retire as a Miami Dolphin. So let's be mature about this, Dan. You're not the missing piece in Minnesota. You know, Adrian's not the missing piece in New England, but his legacy in Minnesota will be far more long-lasting. And I think this way, and the reason why I know is because I'm one of those few players. And there's a lot of players played a lot. I played with 3 different teams, but my identity is with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
And what that organization and what that fan base has meant to me. I know what it will mean to Adrian when he gets older. He's young now. He's old for a football player, but he's young as a man. And I just know that it's worth more than if he goes to New England and wins, what does that do for his career?
You don't judge him any differently.
No. And if we look at, let's be honest, because we've been talking about the Hall of Fame a lot. Who in the NFL from the running back position is going to get into the Hall of Fame besides Adrian Peterson? Who? See, it's maybe L. Bell, maybe if he puts together a career, Ezekiel, they're all at the beginning of it. But Adrian is going to be a Hall of Famer.
He is.
And I just believe.
I think he's the first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So he'll always be identified with the Vikings. And that's why I just believe that longevity, and when he looks at, and the people of Minnesota, this is bigger than just trying to decide to play his last couple years.
I agree with you 1,000%. I mean,
I got on Vikings underwear, so you know, people might not want to listen to me.
The first thing he's going to have to do is check his ego. Because when you go to a new team, you have to prove yourself all over again.
It's like you talked about Brandon Marshall. Yeah.
Skip, when I left Denver, those 2 Super Bowl rings, they didn't help Baltimore do anything. Those Pro Bowls didn't help. I had to go in, reestablish myself. I asked what was the practice schedule like. I asked, what time we had to meet, when was the lift. I asked all those questions. Because then when I went back to Denver, I was like, when I'm going here, I need to go somewhere where I know if I tell Mike I'm Nick, I'm going to be okay. I know Mike's going to give me one day during training camp when you're practicing 2 days. I knew Mike would give me one day, only practice one practice. All that. Adrian, you haven't practiced during the season in a long time. You haven't played in the preseason in a very, very long time. But Skip, here's the one thing that he would run into a problem. Their offense is situational. They don't go out and say, we're going to give you the running back 20 carries every single game. Because if we got a matchup with James White and Deion Lewis, we've seen that with LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount run the ball 30 times 1 week, and then the next 2 weeks he might have 25 carries combined. Adrian Peterson, can you handle that? Can you handle not being on the field on 1st and 2nd down? I don't know if he can. I mean, everything seems easy. When you're sitting back, it's like, man, oh, yeah, I can do that. But then all of a sudden, you're actually faced with that.
Yeah, you're not touching the ball.
Skip. Think about he is a 20 to 25 carry every game running back.
Traditional tailback.
So now all of a sudden, Adrian Peterson normally comes out of the game when he's tired. So imagine him standing on the sideline beside Coach Belichick and James White's playing on 1st down, or Deion Lewis is playing on 1st down. It sounds good, and I know, hey, look, I have a very unique perspective because I was fortunate enough to have the Super Bowl rings, CC, so I didn't feel I had to chase. But if I hadn't, I'm not chasing anything because there's no guarantee when I get there. I'm going to get one when I get there.
Yep. Okay, which brings us to the resounding conclusion. Adrian Peterson is a bad fit for the New England Patriots, right? It's just a bad fit because we talked about Brandon Marshall, but Adrian Peterson is way up here and Brandon's somewhere down in here, and I have a lot of respect for Brandon, but he needs to go get a ring just to sort of validate his whole career.
Because he's never been to the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. He's never even played a single playoff game.
Right.
And I do think that Adrian's mystique sort of rises above his actual impact that he's had, but that's okay because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, so he doesn't need a ring to validate, right?
No.
He doesn't need a ring to get into the Hall. It's a done deal to me. He's done. He won his MVP.
2,000-yard rush season.
I got it. And we go all the way back. He was Rookie of the Year. So his whole career, start to finish, is nothing but good. He belongs in Minnesota. They should make it happen. Obviously, they're going to have a meeting of the minds and come to grips with how much is he worth at this point.
They paid him $14 million the season that he missed.
I agree. So he should give them a hometown discount of some sort. I don't know exactly what that is, but to your point, 95% of his career carries came with the quarterback under center, and he's in the eye, and there's a fullback in front of him, and they're just not going to do it all that. They might do it occasionally in New England, but not that often. And again, LeGarrette Blount is once again a free agent. I assume somebody's going to overpay him to go somewhere else, but we saw that happen with Pittsburgh, and then he winds up back in New England, right?
If I learned my lesson, some guys are better fit where they are.
Yeah.
He is a great fit for New England because he knows they won't tolerate his BS.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, Skip. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, CC, if Adrian Peterson went to the Minnesota Vikings and they won the Super Bowl, does that change your opinion of what type of player Adrian Peterson is?
No, but it would be, the storyline would be Adrian Peterson. For the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl.
Right.
So he would be responsible for bringing them a championship. It wouldn't be Sam Bradford.
Right.
The storyline would be circled around Adrian, his commitment to the team and the franchise. So that's a monster story. You guys have been working for companies a long time, and access is something that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I can grant you this. I know this 100%. Adrian and his family, his kids, his wife, his dad, the extended family, they will never have the access that they have in Minnesota.
No.
Because let me tell you something. Like, Adrian park up under the stadium for the games, all right? His parents, his family, they're along the sideline.
Okay.
During the games, before the game. His son is on the field before the games. You know the reason why? Because he's a legendary Vikings player. And you know something? The Vikings did that for me, and they did that for all the others. But
all the great legendary players. Everybody don't have that access. Skip, when I had my homeboys coming in town, they got sideline passes. They asked one of my teammates, like, you don't get your free? He's like, I don't even ask.
That was one thing Randy Moss had to come to grips with. He was like, man, Chris Carter, I said, man, I've been doing this a long time. Now we can grandfather you a little bit. but we can give you a little bit, but that kind of access and other things, to me, just like Marino, they're worth preserving. Dan Marino works for, where right now? Where does he work, John?
He's in Miami.
Working for the Dolphins, right?
Who does John Elway? Where's Ozzie Newsome was with Cleveland. Cleveland came to Ravens, and what is he now? Skip that.
There are certain things worth that are more than money.
Yes, that means something.
So you know Adrian very well. I know him a little bit. I know him well enough to tell you, Adrian, he's Adrian Peterson, man. He thinks he's something now.
Yeah.
He's special.
He wants to be in the. He likes the language. He likes to be in the top 3 or 4 paid running backs. I think that's one of the criteria for him.
But Adrian Peterson doesn't play cog in system, and that's what he would have to do.
Right. Skip, when you become a great player, everybody, you saw what LeBron did. LeBron James took out a thing, apologizing to his wife. He says, baby, because the trail that I'm on, I'm chasing greatness. I sometimes take for granted what you and my kids mean. So when you become great, you sacrifice a lot. Now, all of a sudden, Adrian Peterson, CC said it, he gets carte blanche treatment in Minnesota. Whoa. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen when he goes to New England. He will be treated just like Matthew Slater. He will be treated just like the long snapper.
I think Matthew Slater probably gets a little seniority.
But I'm just, look here. When Coach Belichick eyes, nobody gets seniority.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're all playing for rings. They're all playing for championships.
Matthew Slater's dad is Jackie Slater. They're not getting in no special treatment.
No mercy. Lonzo Ball. He's got it all, this kid. Lonzo Ball. He's special. Lonzo Ball. You better watch out. Ball. Bang. Lonzo Ball, cold-blooded. Another alley-oop. Ball. Long ball. Got it. Wow. Ball. Long three. It's Lonzo time. College basketball at its finest.
He's going to get better. That might be scary, but he's going to get better.
We're joined now by the father of UCLA's stellar freshman Lonzo Ball. LeVar Ball, welcome to Undisputed.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Awesome
Thank
to
for
have
having
you.
me. Okay.
So Lonzo's coach, Steve Alford, had some high praise for your son. Here's what he said. He plays downhill at a pace nobody else in the country can play at. He's 6'6", he's long, but I swear he can dribble it while he's in the air. He can definitely pass while he's in the air. He advances the ball either by dribble or pass faster than any point guard in the country. So, LeVar, what do you think of Coach Alford's assessment of Lonzo?
I think that's a great assessment of him. He's been playing like that all his life. Like I said, Zoe's goal was to play in the league. And as you're small, the game gets faster and faster. I taught him how to play at this speed when they was babies, on the fact that the goal is to play as fast as possible.
So, LeVar, I'm not going to tell you how to be a parent or what you should and shouldn't do because all intents and purposes look like you raised three great young men. But do you think you might have went out on the limb a little bit too far when you said your son, who's a college freshman at UCLA, is better than Steph Curry, a two-time MVP, with the last time being unanimous?
No. On the fact that I have the utmost confidence in what my son does. And just because I say he's better than somebody, who cares? I believe it. So I don't care what nobody else says. You can judge on your own.
But you, sitting here looking at you, listening to you, and spoke a little bit off camera, this is not hyperbole. You sincerely believe this.
I believe it. I know it. And it's just like, I know what work my boy put in.
Right.
You know, for me to say that.
Right.
And so I'm not going to, just because somebody else has titles, I'm not disliking Steph Curry or nothing.
Right.
What he's done for himself, that's for him.
Right.
But I know what my boys are about. And it's like I said, Lonzo was the best player in high school.
Right.
He was the best player in college. You think he'll get to the pros and be like, I made it to the pros, now I can be average.
Right.
We're coming for everybody.
Right. So let me Skip. Hey, but do you think you're adding undue? I understand he was the best player in college. He was the best player in high school. But do you think you're adding undue pressure?
First of all, your pressure and our pressure is two different things.
Okay.
There's no pressure in sports. It's entertainment. Life-threatening situations, that's pressure.
Right.
Like I've always told my boys from day one, if you're coming home and they say you got to leave and you don't have nothing to eat for 2 weeks, that's pressure. My foot on your throat, I'm about to kill you, that's pressure.
Right.
But telling me something, you can't hurt me or my boys by telling something. Now, 2x4 upside the head, you might hurt. But as far as this is not pressure, it's entertainment. And the more people to watch, the better we like it.
You raising entertainers, not ball players.
Hey, evidently they was ball players when they came out the womb.
Evidently. So, as you step back from this, does Lonzo ever come to you and say, Pop, you got to back off just a little bit because you're just laying it on a little too thick for me?
See, that's what y'all can do. That's when you raise your kids, they can come up and say, hey, Pop, you can't come up and tell me nothing. I'm the one paying when I'm raising you. So they never gonna come to me and be like, Dad, you need to tone it down. Wait a minute, I'm my man, you your man. But you become your own man when you move away from me.
That's true.
Oh, excuse me, if you don't mind me asking, where are you from?
I'm from LA South Central.
Because, see, you got old Southern values. See, that's how my grandfather talked to his kids. Like, I'm always going to be dad.
Right.
And just because you're a man, don't think you usurp me all of a sudden.
Right.
Because I'm still dad, and I'm still the man, and you're going to be respectful of me in my house at all times.
I ain't got to say nothing, Shannon. You know where I'm coming from, man. You know where I'm coming from.
So how good were you in high school as a player?
In high school as a player, I didn't play sports until the 10th grade. Okay, but I was faster and stronger than a lot of people. But my dad's mindset wasn't like, okay, let me get my sons in sport. There's 5 boys and 2 girls in our family. But he made us all
Where were
faster.
you in the...
I'm like in the middle.
Okay.
I have an older brother and 2 older sisters and then 3 younger brothers.
Okay.
But as far as athletically, we were superb in that.
Right.
But my
So
dad
when you
never
started
pushed.
in 10th grade, what happened? How
Well, in 10th grade, I played varsity. And, you know, in high school, you played...
Where were you? In
Canoga Park.
I got it.
Yes, went out to the valley.
All right.
All right. I just played the seasons. Football season, play football. Basketball, play basketball. Instead of playing baseball, I didn't love that too much, so I did track.
Yeah.
So now the new age, you do everything all year long. It's just like football. Then you have a little spring practice, 7-on-7. So if you're trying to do one thing now, you can't do all the sports because you're gonna fall back. It's just like basketball. It's all year long now. And not just with the AAU.
Did you have
whatever.
a chance to play in college?
I played in college. I played at, I had to go to a junior college to first couple of years on the fact that my grades was terrible. You know, I'm playing in high school just for just to love to play, you know, and then you get the exposure of everybody liking you, whatever like that. And then I went to West LA and played, and then I transferred to Washington State. Actually, it was the Pac-10 back then, and Calvin Sampson was the coach.
Oh.
But everybody was thinking, when I went up there from JUCO, averaged 23 points and 13 rebounds.
Wow.
But when we get up there, the fact that he's not playing fast, and now I look defiant playing. So I'm averaging now 4 points and 2 rebounds sitting on the bench. Because whenever I get in there, if I'm open, I'm shooting. if I got a layup or a dunk, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to pass the ball 10 times, which I thought we were going to play like that. We ended up averaging like 40 points. And that's when I transferred out of there to Cal State LA.
Okay.
And got my numbers back to 18 and 10. Wow. But I only had 1 more year to play.
Right. So why did you, of all, I mean, UCLA is a great school. It was not like the UCLA the days of Wooden and Walton and Kareem, who blew our center at the time. Why not, you wanted your boys to stay close to home? Why not Duke, North Carolina, Kansas?
Okay, we from the West.
Right.
So basically my boy loves living in this warm weather.
Right.
So I alleviated all the East Coast schools, even though they wanted us.
Right.
You know, but I'm not going to dangle you along saying we might go there, Syracuse, Connecticut, or whatever. No. And like I said, West LA, or not West LA, UCLA is the best school on the West Coast, if you think about it.
Right.
Any point guard is halfway decent is going to get a shot at the league.
Right.
I'm looking at it in that aspect and the fact that if Lonzo wants to go play open gym, let's say this year, with a bunch of pros, you know he can always say, Jello, Mello, come with me.
Right.
Now you got your younger brothers get this experience.
Right.
You can't do that in the East Coast. You ain't gonna fly them on a plane all the time. We got a lot of family that follow us.
Right.
They older. They can't be flying on no planes and stuff. But to go up the freeway, I always told my boys this. You always want to be in a place where if everything is not going good, you still want to be there. Now, you Kentucky Duke, you know, you got a sprained ankle or leg, and your family not around, do you really want to be out there?
Right.
And that's how we looked at it.
So when your boys were kids, like little kids, did you have to encourage them to play basketball, or did they just want to play right away?
I put them in baseball.
Yeah.
I put them in football, flag football. Lonzo and Jello said, if you're not pitching or hitting in baseball, it sucks.
That's true.
You know, the football, you can only play up so high because it's a size difference that happens in.
Right.
Basketball, they start developing such a major passion for it. And they kind of went in their own lane. And that's why people look at me and be like, oh, man, you play football. How come your boys are not playing football? Jello's is big. In football, just because you're big don't mean you can play. You got to be wild up here. You can't just be like, hey, I can bench press 700 and I run. As soon as somebody hits you upside your head, you foul. That's a foul. No, that ain't no foul. So they took when they were like 4th grade, they were beating teams that were like middle school, 8th grade, but we were beating them like 80 to 40, just outrunning them, out shooting. We couldn't outpower them. But we can shoot
And you
30
were
feet.
coaching right
I was
away?
coaching them
all the way up?
Yes,
Okay.
all the way up.
So you coached your kid, if I read correctly, I think you coached them until they got to what, like high school? Your AAU coach, and then you turned it over to the high school coach.
Yes. Well, on the high school coach, you can just fly solo now. You good. What I did is instilled something in them that nobody can get out of them now. The long shots, can't take it out of them. You say, oh, it's a bad shot. Oh, okay. Get out there, we'll shoot it again. But my boys are willing to take those shots and they know what come with it. What I mean by that, I've taught them this. Every time you win, it's not your fault. You better say, all your players made you win. That guy usually get 4 rebounds, he got 6 rebounds. He got 8 points, now he got 12 points. But when you lose, it's your fault. Even if you had 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 30 assists. Who cares? You didn't do enough. And I've been teaching them that from this big. So whenever something happens bad for a team and people talk about them and say, oh, you shot them out the game, it doesn't bother them because they got a callus because I've did it for such a long. Like in our house, we did a lot of winning. There's no trophies in the house. It doesn't justify us winning. We expect to win every single time. And you're going to lose sometime, but it's cool. Because when we win, like I said, point the finger at everybody else when you win. When you lose, regardless of what you did, say, yeah, I just didn't do enough. I didn't get my guys ready right. And it's cool.
Lonzo has a little bit of an unorthodox shot.
Yes.
It goes in, and it goes in from long distance. Did you teach it, or did he just develop it himself and you encouraged it?
And when I had him shooting, at first he had the ball on the right side shooting like this. But as we were playing older players, he started dribbling to the left because everybody was fading to the right, so now you got to go to the left. So when he would go to the left hard, the only way he can get it off is this. And like I said, I got 3 boys, and they all shoot the heck out of the ball. But check this out, not one of them had the same form. Because I've always told him, perfect your form and you good. Because you can have a guy who shoots perfect form. Let's say he got perfect form, but ain't no shots dropping. Who cares? You're not any good. But if you got this raggedy form and you put it in the basket, you're a great shooter. But then again, I'll go about great shooters. Tell me this. You like a guy who go 10 for 10 from the three-point line, but he can't win a game. And then you got my sons who go 2 for 10, but they make the 2 game-winning shots. Who's the better shooter?
I'll take the game.
You're a money guy. You want to chips on the line.
Like,
on the line. Let's do it.
It's all about the clutch, G.
Exactly.
That's what Skip's up to.
No mercy.
Next up, 9 News in Denver is reporting the Broncos are ready to pursue Tony Romo if and when he is released by the Cowboys. Jerry Jones recently said he and Romo talked before the Super Bowl and said they want what's best for both parties. The new league year starts on Thursday, which is when free agents can officially sign with new teams. Skip, what's your gut feeling of what Dallas will do with Romo this week?
Better get some kale pet takes.
I think you're right. I'm going to need it. I'm going to need some antacid or something. Okay, look, I'm no capologist here, and some of this capology strategy just boggles my mind, so some of it escapes me. I'll be the first to admit it.
Okay.
I do think that the next 48 hours will tell the tale about my Cowboys' chances next year to win a Super Bowl. With Romo staying, I don't love those chances. If he is released or traded in the next 48 hours, I love their chances of winning it all next year. My gut feeling is that we've gotten this close to the deadline and Jerry will hang on to him. And that will strongly indicate to me that he is going to keep Tony Romo under the cap for, $24-odd million.
I think it's $24.7 million.
Okay.
I think he has the highest cap number.
And I also think that Jerry will give Tony a chance in preseason to win back the job next year. But obviously, if Jerry can just please swallow your pride and cut that cord between him and Tony Romo Jones, who is like a son to him, and let him go, and that's doing right by Tony Romo. And I believe that he would sign with the Denver Broncos because the Broncos could sign him to then an incentive-laden deal, and then it would clear the decks of the salary cap a little bit this year, $5 million, clear the psychological decks for Dak Prescott to take over this team in ways he couldn't take it over completely last year with Tony Romo looking over his shoulder pads, and all will be right in the Cowboy world. But obviously, if the clock ticks toward, 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon on Eastern time, obviously 1 o'clock here, but if the clock ticks past that 4 p.m. deadline, then the quarterback market is going to start to dry up because it's going to force every team that needs a quarterback to go into either free agency or then make their plans to draft a quarterback.
Because a lot of teams are on the clock. I think Buffalo's on the clock with Tyrod Taylor. I think they have to do something by March 9th.
They do.
Or to guarantee that $27 million.
Okay.
You hear Mike Glennon that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trying to make him the highest paid backup in the NFL. Chase Daniel currently owns that title at $7 million a year on the bench in Philly. So these are 2 possible quarterbacks that can be on the open market. Skip, I believe that Tony will get released by the end of the week.
Boy,
but this is what I see happening. And we see this a lot. Jerry's trying to have it both ways. See, Jerry is that guy that he's breaking up with his girlfriend. Now, he's like, babe, I found someone else. I'm happy. We love each other. And I just want to give us, a fresh start, just me and her. And I just wish you the best. But I don't want you to date the guy down the street. Where she said, well, hold on, wait a minute. You're breaking up with me. You lost that right to tell me who I can and can't date.
Who's the guy down the street? The Washington Redskins?
Washington Redskins, anybody, especially somebody in the NFC.
Yep.
See, that's what Jerry is saying. I want to release you. I want to do right by you because it's going to be hard for me to keep you here and let you start given what Dak had done. Dak's offensive rookie of the year. And you're going to put him on the bench for a 37-year-old fragile quarterback. So that's going to be hard. So I want to release you, but I wanted to release you and then determine where you can and can't play. And Tony's like, hold on, wait a minute. Jerry, I appreciate everything you've done for me. You've made me wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. A lot of what I have. You believed in me monetarily when no one else did. But it's hard for me, Jerry, to allow you now, after you're cutting me, telling me you don't want me no more, that you got a hot young thing now in Dak Prescott that's about to be 23, 24 years of age. So that's where we are, Skip. But I do still believe that by the end of the week, because, like you said, Thursday, March 9th, Thursday, 4:30 Eastern time, free agency open. Now we're in that window. Tomorrow you can get into that window where you hey, you can start
I think
talking.
it starts today.
Is it
right?
today?
Yeah. You can start to have conversation.
The NFL instituted that because teams were doing it even without their permission. So instead of making it look bad, like we got a handshake deal, go ahead, let them know where you are, what's going to be the financial parameters of what you want and how you want it constructed, and move on from there. But Jerry's trying to control the situation, Skip. I want to move on from Tony, but I don't want Tony here, 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 here. And that's not right to him. Once you leave, Skip, once you want to throw something away, if you throw it by the trash and I find it and I polish it up and make it nice and neat,
okay,
you can't say that's yours still.
Okay. So as a Cowboy fan,
Yes.
I'm going to be cold-blooded here because sometimes Cowboy Nation loses all perspective. It happens occasionally with the Dallas Cowboys. But seriously, if you step back from this, Jerry is still completely in control of this because
he does.
Tony Romo's under contract for 2 more years.
You're absolutely correct.
And we talked yesterday. He doesn't have any no-trade clause. Drew Brees has had one, but not Tony Romo.
Drew just got that instituted in the last deal. He signed an extension for 1 year.
All right, fine. But if you want to do right by Cowboy Nation, if you want to do what's best for the Dallas Cowboys, well, the truth is you would go ahead and trade Tony if you could get anything for him, a 4th round, whatever you get.
Right.
You trade him.
You just want him off your books.
Okay, but you trade him to Buffalo
Right.
or to Jacksonville or someplace where you know he couldn't come back to haunt you, right?
Right.
So I don't get this, I'm going to do right by him because he's going to do right. What has Tony done exactly for the Dallas Cowboys? Seriously, you'd be the first one to agree with this.
Yes.
Okay, there have been some spectacular moments,
Yeah.
high risk, high reward. But what has he really done for the Dallas Cowboys?
Skip, think about this. What if Mr. Irsay, if the Colts had cut Peyton Manning and said, Peyton, look, now I knew you were going to be hurt all last year. I paid you $20+ million. I'm going to release you, but you can't go sign with the Houston Texans. First of all, you release me. You don't get to tell me where I go. I'm a free agent.
Okay.
Free means I'm free to go sign with 31 other teams.
Irsay thought he was done because of the neck operation.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For you to release somebody and then try to negotiate where they can and can't play,
But we know that Jerry doesn't think he's done.
no.
He thinks he can win a Super Bowl.
Right.
You know what, Skip? If Jerry released him and Tony didn't win a Super Bowl, he'd be perfectly fine with that. But the thought of him winning a Super Bowl, not with a star on his helmet, it what keeps him awake at night.
It would be his worst nightmare.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Skip.
it would in his
Absolutely.
whole career. Not firing Tom Landry or firing Jimmy Johnson, but watching Tony Romo win a Super Bowl. Worst nightmare.
Because you know what Jerry does? Jerry sees Tony just like you heard him when they lost that game to Green Bay. He said those are Tony-type plays. All the plays that Aaron Rodgers
He
made.
did.
He's looking at it like Tony Romo is Peyton Manning. He said, you saw what happened with Peyton? Peyton had neck surgeries, had like 3 neck surgeries in 18 months. And you saw what he was able to do. Won 3 divisions. They were the number 1 seed like 3 times, 2 seed once. Peyton was an MVP. And he's like, Tony Romo can do that. Tony Romo is Peyton Manning, part 2. Jerry believes that.
I know
Skip.
he believes it. But wait a second. When Peyton got pushed out the back door in Indy, he did have a Super Bowl ring, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
at least he'd done that.
Right.
So Tony has no MVPs and no rings.
And Mr. Irsay was clearing the deck because he's like, I have Andrew
Luck.
Luck. Now, he didn't know Andrew Luck didn't win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Dak Prescott won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So it would be, Skip, it would be, I've never heard, I think it would be impossible for him to bring Tony back and start him over the guy that the sports writer said was the best rookie in all of football.
It's not impossible. I mean, there's no law against
No.
it. Hey, for the man who fired Tom Landry and fired Jimmy Johnson after back-to-back Super Bowl wins, you don't think he'd put Tony back in the lineup?
When you got the kind of money that Jerry got, Jerry got that FU money. See, when you get there's a certain level you get to, Joy, where you like, I don't care what you FU, he got that kind of money. So whether we like it or not, Jerry's like, you guys don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Look at his business card. Jerry Jones. It says owner, CEO, VP, GM. All that's underneath.
All of the above. And he sank all of his pride and a bunch of his cap money in Tony Romo in 2013 and told the world, I'm going to go win a Super Bowl with this guy. And he also told the world that he should have traded up for Paxton Lynch, which disqualifies him from taking any credit for Dak Prescott.
Well, you said he plunged into the oil field.
He did.
He plunged head first with Tony Romo.
Yep.
So he Skip. I mean, think about it. I mean, this might be Halle Berry. I mean, you got Halle. I mean, think about the guy that dated Halle in high school. Like, God almighty darn, I let that girl go.
Well, I don't know if
I don't
You're
know
saying
if that's a
Tony's
good
Halle Berry?
comparison.
No, I'm just saying. But in what you call about in Jerry Jones'
Jerry's
eyes,
Well, yeah. I
Jerry's
guess that
eyes-
beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We know
Yes.
that.
That's correct, which is why Jerry's doing some deep soul searching
Yeah.
right now as we speak.
Well, you know what? For all of our sakes, Jerry, just do the right thing.
Yeah, do the right thing.
Well, business as usual in the NFL, this wouldn't be a thing, but we know there's such a personal relationship. That's why we're in this situation.
Jerry, do right by Skip.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Joy Taylor. Tune in on Wednesday.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.